Hey guys, so I'm sorry that I'm doing this while lying down, but it's been a little while since I've done a video, and seeing as I'm still kind of dealing with the effects of chemo as well as dealing with my second infusion, which I got earlier this morning, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm as comfortable as I can so that I can focus. So, a lot's happened. We got out of the hospital, but it was definitely a bit of a challenge. Um, Basically, I started it out by getting admitted on last Thursday night. Then at 3:30 in the morning on Friday, I did an MRI, which I've done an MRI before, and I was like, oh, that's fine, it's nothing. This one was definitely more intense. At one point during it, I had to swallow, and I could feel my teeth vibrating from it, so definitely not the most pleasant thing to get woken up and go into. Uh, that was not terrible, but then it was followed by a bone marrow biopsy, which wasn't great, but at the same time, I was more or less out for. And then it was followed by a lumbar puncture. I'm not gonna lie, I hated that. That was really unpleasant. It wasn't even that painful. The lidocaine burned, but it was the moment that they went in. It went well, but the doctor brushed a nerve in my leg and it lit up like a Christmas tree. Ugh, I can't even describe it. So that was definitely a lot. um, this was all on Friday, and then basically followed at midnight by my actually, before I go to that, during that lumbar puncture, I had my first dose of what's called intrathecal chemo, which basically, for those who don't know, lymphoma, Burkitt's lymphoma, to be specific, is known to attack the central nervous system and the brain. So, as a precautionary measure, we actually injected my first dose of chemo directly into my spine. So we did that, and then later that night at midnight, I got three other types of chemo. And I'm forgetting them all right now. Maybe in one video I will actually look this up before I actually try to record, but I'll blame it on the chemo brain. Then the next day we did immunotherapy, and I had a pretty bad reaction to that, but that, from what I was told, is very normal. It's actually very similar to when I eat shellfish accidentally. I get this really scratchy feeling in my throat. I feel like my stomach is expanding, and I begin to break out right under my chin. That part, nothing to worry about. It just was what it was. They actually stopped me for a little bit and then secretly put me on at a lower dose, and I didn't even notice it. I literally asked the doctor, okay, when do we have to start? And they were like, oh, you're already almost finished. So that was fine. The rest of the experience was just them monitoring me, coming in every couple of hours just to verify that, or to take my vitals, I should say, and do some blood work just to make sure that my levels were all good. So that was okay. The chemo effects didn't hit me until I got home. Actually, when Mom took me to the grocery store and we were shopping around getting things that I could use and eat while I was at home, all of that, I just remember I was fine one minute, and the next thing I know, it just slowly started to go downhill. I felt tired. I felt a little nauseous, but I still had a lot of anti-nausea medication in my system, so that one wasn't so bad, just a little queasy. But yeah, that one definitely started to creep in. The worst symptom by far has been the chemo migraines and dizziness. Uh, that apparently is a very common thing with intrathecal chemo, which would make sense since it's going directly into your brain. But it's no joke. It sucks. I could only be up for a few minutes at a time, and if I really pushed myself, maybe a half hour at most, before I would have to put my head down because of the fact that it was spinning so much. Um, it definitely it lasted throughout the whole week, and it was definitely. I'm sorry. You might notice that there are spots on me, little green ones. Basically, I've got a space buddy in the room. Just the little guy over there on my desk, and he's making my ADHD go crazy right now. But my dad lent him to me so I could have a little nice ambiance in my room. Basically, oh, sorry. I'm still learning how to record on here, but basically, I realized I can make it so that I don't have to hold down my button to record. So, sorry, this is a learning progress. We're all getting there together. One very shaky, cringy step at a time. But yeah, anyway, so where was I? Yeah, basically, the symptoms have lasted for most of the week. They're very subtle, very sneaky. I multiple times was like, "Oh, I'm feeling better," because I would wake up and I would sit up and be like, "Okay, this is great. This isn't too bad." And then suddenly the spins would begin to start. And then occasionally, if I wasn't careful, nausea would kick in. Last I've been trying to kind of not be too reliant on the medication. Obviously, it's there if I need it, but I don't want to be super reliant on it just because there's so many drugs in my system already. And with my body not functioning at capacity, or I should say at peak performance, I'm just trying to find as many natural solutions to supplement that. So I'm supposed to be taking like 2 anti-nausea meds per day. Unfortunately, last night I thought I was good because I was literally I had managed to make it through the day on one, but or actually no, I had managed to make it through the day without taking one. But unfortunately, last night I had a pretty violent nausea urge, and that was pretty rough, pretty scary. So I took a pill for that, and then I ended up also taking a panic attack pill, just something that I had my psychiatrist prescribe at the recommendation of the hospital staff, in addition to the anti-anxieties I take. But yeah, that's basically that's kind of how it's been. This morning we did a vincristine injection, or infusion, I should say. So I'm feeling okay right now, but I am waiting for the chemo to come in and kind of do that subtle little thing where it stabs me in the back when I'm not looking. So yeah, that's a little tough. On Actually, before I go there, we got good news this week. I believe it was 2 days ago. The nurse practitioner called me and told me that so far, with all the signs, minus the bone marrow biopsy, which we are still waiting on but could get any day now, I've been deemed as low risk. And what that basically means is, I'll try to explain this in the best way I can, but with the type of cancer I have, there is a chemo regimen that has been set up for me. And basically, there were two different ways we could go. We could either get 3 doses of regimen A, that is, or 2 doses of A and 2 doses of B. Now, obviously, with the low risk, I only have to do the 3 doses outside of something unforeseen happening. It doesn't make it any easier, as I found out today, but we'll get there. The good thing is that Regiment A mostly is just nauseating. We have to keep an eye on my heart, because I've also noticed, like, my heartbeat and my pulse are a lot heavier in a resting state. And that could also be because of anxiety. It could just be that there's physical stress on my body. It's kind of hard to say. But it's good in the sense that I am looking at a slightly shorter treatment. Whereas if it had been high risk, I would be getting 1 dose of Regimen A followed by a dose of Regimen B, probably not in the same time period because obviously the body needs to heal. But the nasty part about that is I believe both my immune system and my bone marrow would have been, as my doctor puts it, the innocent bystander that gets caught in the crossfire. Chemo is very aggressive. Fun fact, if I haven't mentioned it, although knowing me, I have, chemotherapy originates from mustard gas. So it's literal chemical warfare. I'm sure I've said it now, so you're welcome for the unnecessary reminder. But anyway, it's good. The low risk is very good. Now for the not so good part, unfortunately. While in the hospital, were told by a nurse that there was a very good chance the rest of this would be outpatient. I wouldn't have to do anything too much. There wouldn't be any more procedures that we would have to worry about because all of that was just as a test and a precaution. Unfortunately, the thing that I am learning with this particular one, even the medical staff is kind of like, oh yeah, your schedule is so chaotic. Because it just changes so quickly. And it's a good sign, actually, that this is happening because it means that they're on top of it. Like, they're finding out things and reporting it to us immediately. So that's really good. The unfortunate part is it's not going to be so simple. I just found out today that next Friday I'm going to go back into inpatient for no alarming reason. Thankfully, it's nothing like they didn't sit me down and tell me we saw something. But it's mostly because they're going to have to monitor. And that's because we're doing another lumbar puncture, which, as you remember, least favorite part. So that's on, it tracks. It was so hard to sit there and get that news. Partially because of that, but I looked over at my mom and I could see she really was feeling it for me, because she knows how much I did not like that. So, that Friday, I've said this multiple times and I will keep saying it now. I'm tough. Like, I impressed myself. I impressed my family. I literally was very strong in a way that I have never been before, which was really refreshing to see. But that being said, just because I'm strong, I don't really want to have to make examples of it again and again and again. But yeah, it sucks. Unfortunately, it sounds like I'm going to be going back into the hospital a few times. We're still trying to figure out, at least between my mom, my sister, my dad, and I, if I am going to be doing 2 more rounds of chemo since we've already done 1, or 3. If you remember, I said it's AAA, so 3 over the course of roughly 9 weeks. At the moment, we are looking at an end date of March 20th being my last thing that I have to do before obviously all of the follow-ups and the exams, just to make sure that we're not getting in or that nothing's coming back, anything like that. However, that could change if there's any kind of complication or new discovery. That definitely could make things different. But also, even if it could be that they take my labs and before I'm supposed to go into the hospital and they say, oh, you know what, your white blood cell count is a little low, so we should actually wait another week, try to get you back up, things like that, which it's par for the course. So again, it's chaotic. It's kind of teaching me to just go with the flow. At this point, bad news is just something that I'm like, I'm used to. Obviously, I hate it and I feel awful when I get it, but it's just kind of, I noticed that I sort of just kind of move past it because I've just embraced that this is going to be a rough journey. But yeah, I mean, not much we can do beyond that. One of the weirder things, actually, is when I was in the hospital, and I'm guessing this is going to happen again because we're probably going to be looking at a very similar thing to when I went in the first time, just minus the MRI and the bone marrow biopsy. But basically, I was given chemo for the cancer, but I was also given a steroid to help with that. And what that actually ends up doing is the chemo makes you feel nauseous, dizzy, disoriented, weak, all of that. But the steroid makes you hungry. So it's the weirdest feeling to have a stomach that's kind of feeling like, I won't say fully nauseated, because with the medication, it's more of I've got like an anxiety stomach, like when you get butterflies in the pit of your stomach, or it's in knots. But having that, but then also waking up in the middle of the night with a voracious appetite. As you may have saw, I made a post where I went to bed and I woke up at 4 a.m. and I wanted a salad. Worst things I could be craving, but yikes. Last night I went to bed after having a pretty good meal, and then I woke up and was like, I'm starving. So I heated up some leftover noodles in the fridge, and went to town on those. Like it's the strangest thing. It's strange how subtle it can be, but then also how sudden parts of it can be. I told you about the sudden nausea I had, and I noticed part of that is if I'm not eating regularly, it can really sneak up on me. Which, again, everything I'm saying, I just want to point out, this could be very different if you yourself have to go through something like this, which I really hope you don't. It's not fun. Doable. I'm not going to sit here and be like a lot of the people on YouTube who say, oh, it sucks, it's horrible, blah, 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 blah. It is, but it is doable. And you find it makes you tough very quickly. But obviously, your symptoms could be very different than mine. It's the nature of the beast and how it interacts with your body. So, this is the new normal for now. There's a lot going on. It's really fun and by fun I mean obviously not, when you are getting a ton of this stuff and it's just coming at you at a breakneck speed. I remember today I broke down a little in the clinic after the nurse practitioner walked out. And I just told my mom, I was like, I would love to come here and just get an infusion and not have to come out with a bunch of new information on what's going on. And again, hopefully now that we're into the treatment phase, we will know at least what we're going through, and it's the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, at this point. So, yeah, it's a lot. My partner, Araya, is actually going to be coming over tonight, and we're going to be shaving all of my hair off. It's going to start falling out at week 3, and I really just, one less traumatic experience is probably a good thing. Um, that's a tough one for me. I I remember when I first found out about this, I was like, why am I so upset about my hair? But I realized that looking back at my profile, a lot of you have seen I've styled it differently. I've dyed it many different colors. And I realized that my hair is a huge part of how I express myself. And it's going to be tough not to have it. Um, Obviously, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to live without it because, well, we either have that I, let's not mince words, I die. And that's not an option for me right now. Like, if there's a chance, I want to take it. So it's just embracing a new look. Not one that I wanted, but, there's a lot that I can probably learn about myself. My hope is that it actually brings new parts of me to my focus that I can feel really proud of. For example, I'm told multiple times people love my eye color. And this is going to definitely bring that one out a little more because I'm not going to have hair to hide under. And there are positives to it, like I'm not going to have to worry about shaving. Um, which, by the way, great timing, but I actually was I was in the middle of actually getting laser hair removal on my face because I was just getting really tired of having to deal with razor burn on my neck. And that along with the fact that I also identify as what's known as a demi boy, and demi non-binary, which basically means as a AMAB person, I mostly identify with my given gender, though there can be non-AMAB demi boys as well, just as there can be non-AFAB demi girls. I won't go down the whole spectrum. If you want, you can look that up. But basically, it means that the way I kind of identify, it's like a 70% male and a 30% non-binary. And just because I like to think I am a rebel, no legislation or no government administration can tell me that I don't. So, you know what? Fuck them. Because again, I don't care. Again, that's a different rant. I am seeing a lot of despair, and I want to definitely make a post on kind of what this diagnosis is teaching me about life and other things like that, but that's a whole nother 20 plus minute post, so I'm gonna try to wrap up here. But yeah, a lot of new things coming our way. I'm gonna get to experience what it's like to do self-administered home injections for the first time. As somebody who has a fear of vomiting and needles, I picked a really good sickness to get. So, yay. But, yeah, like, I've kind of accepted that my life doesn't really have a lot of control to it right now. And that's okay. Because the part that I can control is how I react. And this takes me back to a very wise therapist I had who basically said, we're all taught to think it has to be a certain way. It can't be a certain way. And really what we should be thinking is, okay, this isn't ideal, but I'm okay and I can survive. And that's what I'm just going to have to keep telling myself. So, one procedure at a time. I will make it through the infusions. I will make it through the lumbar punctures. I'm sure I'm going to bitch along the way. Like, I think I've earned that right. Um, and frankly, if somebody doesn't or thinks I can't, I don't care what you have to say. Like, at me in the comments. Please don't, because I'm not even gonna bother replying. Any negative comments will automatically be deleted, and that would be blocked. Not that I expect anybody who's watching this to say that. But anyway, we're getting close to a half hour here, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, and we'll see. Knowing me, I'm sure I'm gonna post pictures of how I look without hair. It's gonna be an experience, but we're gonna get through it, and we're gonna learn, and I'm gonna grow. So, until then, you know, this is going to sound really cheesy, but make sure to tell the people that you love just how much they mean to you. This has been a real experience with showing me just how much everybody in my life, how important they are. And I most certainly don't want to take that for granted. I'm hoping eventually I'll be well enough that I can start seeing people, because I miss being social. That's no hate on anybody who I've been interacting with, my family, the medical staff, all of them. Amazing. Like, they all deserve their own special shout out. And maybe I'll make a video about how grateful I am and some of the amazing things that they've done to help me. But I definitely miss all of my friends. So, here's to hoping we get into a cycle where I can start seeing them, and we can start really getting this better. But, yeah. Yeah. So until then, we've just got to take the little victories, such as the low risk announcement, or the fact that my lymph node is shrinking and not as big as it was before. It's all good. It's good signs, but definitely I've got this. And you all are helping me get there, and posting these videos are really helping me to feel a little bit more of a sense of control. Not even control, just a place where I can vent. It's almost like all of you are my psychologists. So, while you're at it, do we have time to talk about my childhood? No. Oh, that's a whole nother thing. No. Just fighting it with humor. But, yeah. So, there's no real way to end it, so I guess, bye? See ya.